Okay then. Well, my video don't want to play tonight. I don't know what that's about, but anyway, we gonna let it move on. Hey, that happens sometime. So welcome everyone. Glad you could join us. And tonight, you all, we are closing out the month with a mental health wellness session because we could not, under no circumstances, knowing that May is Mental Health Month, and not talk about this. Because you all, mental health wellness is definitely needed. And God knows the past 3 years have been rough. We've had some things even before that, but we've had, like, I call it, we've had the tornado, the hurricane, the tsunami, typhoon, everything had just been thrown at us. And unfortunately, we're coming into another election cycle. And I was like, it's time for that trauma again? Goodness. So tonight we have someone, you all, that is passionate about our mental health. So I want to thank you all for joining us on Conversation is Art. As you all can see, I am all alone. Y'all probably thinking Valton just don't left the show completely, but he's off tonight. He had to go to his grandson's graduation, and he was like jokingly saying, like, I was like, told LaSharie, I ain't gotta go. I was like, oh yeah, you gotta go. That won't be kind. That won't be a kind ending for you. So he's at his grandson's graduation. I almost forgot it's actually graduation week in school. Parents, hold on. That's what happens when your children are adults. You just lose track of all that fun stuff. So look, let me tell you all who we're going to have tonight. This is someone I've known all of her life. I've seen this young lady grow up, and it gives me great joy to see someone that I've seen from a young age to become an adult and just giving back, making their way in the world. And if you saw our flyer, you saw that this is Miss Johnece Smith, and she is a licensed professional counselor and a therapist in the state of Alabama, Georgia, and telehealth in Florida. So guess what? She got 3 of the southern states covered. So you ain't got no excuse for not getting the help. And look, it's okay not to be okay. Remember that. It's okay not to be okay. Mental health is a part of life. We all have things we have to deal with, and we need to learn safe coping skills. I'm not going to even say better. Safe coping skills, things that won't be destructive. Because sometimes when things happen to you, the things we do to ourselves are even more harmful than the event that we've gone through. So look, this young lady, she graduated from Jacksonville State, JSU. How about that? She has a master's degree in counseling and clinical mental health and criminal justice. So look, you don't get your mental health straight, you may end up on the other side of this coin, okay? The criminal justice system. And seriously though, we know that is major. That on the criminal justice side, they're not trained, or either I'm gonna say they're not trained, or they don't choose not to recognize sometimes people that are having mental health um, episodes, and those folks end up, we know, sometimes severely harmed and unfortunately sometimes dead. And her goal, you all, with her career is for you to experience life with joy, purpose, and peace with support. And she takes an eclectic approach with her therapy. And if y'all want to know what eclectic is, Google it. That's what mom is telling me. Look it up for yourself. Now, she explained that when she come on. But one thing she has done, she has started her own business. And I love this name, Creating Your Path. I think that is amazing. A great name. So, without further ado, let me welcome into the room Miss Johnece Smith. How you doing today?
Hello, I'm fine. I'm great. I am so grateful to be here. and so honored as well.
Great, great. And I don't know why I'm not showing up, but guess what? I am not finna let this program worry me tonight. So we just gonna let her be seen while I talk. How you doing today? How you
I'm
doing?
great. I'm
Cause
great.
I mean, this thing is acting crazy tonight. But hey, that's what happens with technology. But guess what? Life is short. It ain't finna give me no mental health crisis.
There,
I'm
that part.
moving right along with it. Hey, let it do what it do, because they
Too.
can see you, which is most important to me. So, how's everything been going for you?
It's been going very well. I've just been really enjoying working with individuals, families, kids. I love doing
Okay,
that. I love it all. I really do. In helping others to create their path or get onto a new path or
gotcha.
mend the path that they're on.
Okay, that's great. Now say that one more time. What you say you're gonna help the people do?
Create their path, mend their path, create their path, and mend their path.
Wow, wow. Now we're gonna dig deep into that mending later on. I know.
Hmm. Hmm.
Most definitely, most definitely. So, Johnece, let's give a little background. Just tell the people about you, where you're from, how you ended up even deciding to choose this career field, because you did criminal justice first, right?
I did criminal, well, yes, I did criminal justice first. And then a good friend of mine at the time was like, hey, you need to get into counseling. And I've always wanted to be like a clinical therapist.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay. And so I dropped the criminal justice and then graduated from that program. Then started working in family court. Well, meanwhile, working in family court, I was very appreciative for the presiding judge at the time to give me the opportunity to work with him.
Okay.
And so after a couple, well, 1 or 2 years, I looked up. I'm like, oh, I got 10 hours. That's it to graduate. Let me go ahead and knock this out. So of course, JSU was like, come back home, come on through.
I
And I
don't
was like,
blame
oh,
them. I
I was
don't
like,
blame them.
okay, I love y'all JSU. So I came through and I graduated again. And
Okay.
then on top of that, one of my professors, two of my professors really, from the criminal, not the criminal justice, but the counseling side said, hey, we got an EDS program, which is above, it's in between above a master's, but not quite a doctorate.
Okay.
Okay, so it's an in between. And so I said, how long was it going to take me? 2 years.
I don't blame you.
I said, I was like, ooh. So graduated with the EDS in clinical mental health, and all my path, my whole path has been really interesting because I started in criminal justice in that aspect, and been very fortunate to meet wonderful people, wonderful attorneys, and social workers, and people who work with the social workers and families. But also in my path, I had an opportunity to go to Georgia. Went to
Okay.
Georgia. That fell through. Came back home. I'm like, I don't have a job. Oh no, I need a job. And so the job that declined me at the time before I left for Georgia, I went back to that one. And the next thing I know, I had an interview, and then they hired me.
Wow.
They prepared me. And she's both of them are a mentor, the supervisors, still to this day. But they prepared me for just mental health in general, and I mean all aspects of mental health. And so it just next thing I know, I'm on another path. I'm
Okay.
going to the into the hospitals, and I'm doing all this other stuff, and I'm just like, okay, all right, yes. It's like you're being led to different opportunities, and when you sit down and you look back, you're like, wow, because everything opens up. Um, Sometimes the doors are closed for a reason, and you're like, why are they closed? And in the long run, the reason why they're closed is because you need to be over there,
Gotcha.
or you need to be
Gotcha.
over here. And so that has really transpired in my life. with understanding. And true enough, with with our higher power, you have those temper tantrums like, why can't we just have it now? No, I need to give you those tools. I need to give you some coping tools. I need for you to learn how to manage this little bit of something before you get the big something.
True.
And so it's
Yeah.
just been a very interesting opportunity.
Okay. And look, for our listening audience, listen, you all know Beth and I both are believers. So we do scripture and everything. And what Johnece just said is scripture will say, if you're faithful over little, make you ruler over much. And I used to have a former pastor, Pastor Perry, used to tell us, y'all wanna he back in the day, this was a lot of money. He said, y'all want a $50,000 job, but you ain't got 5 cents worth of sense. You don't even know what you're doing. So the thing about it, that path, although it's not something you thought about or had planned, but it's what God had intended for you to navigate to get you to where you are, because you went through the court system,
Hmm.
working through that. You've done hospital, you've done private. I mean, you covered the gamut. And working in the hospital, the thing about that, people fail to realize the hospital is the right place for you to see people from all walks of life in one space. Whereas kind of you're in the juvenile side, you're just seeing juveniles or adults, but the hospital is a place for you to see. And you all, part of mental health wellness, you all, when you have such illnesses, um, that's taxing on the mind. And you need somebody to talk to just vet what you are feeling. And definitely in the Black community, you all, we get this be strong, don't cry, you know, and that's killing us. That manifests in disease. And I know I was an ER nurse. And a lot of times when I talk to people, yeah, their blood pressure was elevated, but that ain't truly what was their problem. The blood pressure was a symptom, the
Hmm.
stresses of life. So that is just great to see. And I'm so happy that you embraced the path that you were going down. You listened to the people that was like, girl, go back to school. You know,
I did. I really did. Sometimes I question it, and looking back on it, I wonder, like, some days I wonder, like, how did I get here? Because it 3 o'clock in the morning doing the paper, got to send it in,
yeah.
12 o'clock, and then I had to be at work at 7 or 8, and so doing all those things, it really, I chose. I was led to the path, but I think the path. I really think the path chose me.
Oh well, yeah. Some things do choose you.
It.
Trust me. It's some things I be like, I don't want to do this. Why is this hunt came and hunt me down? Let somebody else do it. But you're right. I do believe there are certain callings on our lives. And I say this often on this show, that if you pay attention to a child, generally speaking, they will show you what their God given talent or gift is. It's just that we're so materialistic. We base everything on the dollar amount, what you're going to make. And therefore, you have people making $100,000 that are miserable. They are depressed. They actually have mental health diagnosis because they're so unhappy. And we got this fake it till you make it. No, that ain't healthy either. So look, Johnece, we're gonna back up a little bit and talk about
Okay.
your earlier education and
Mhm.
starting in school. So are you a product of the Birmingham public school system? Because I know you're born and raised.
I am a product of the Montessori system.
Okay.
I've gone to private schools all my life. Um, thank you to the village who's listening out there, known and unknown. I'll put it that way. So I had the opportunities to go to a Montessori school, which is private and is located in Birmingham. And one school, well, two of the schools were actually located in um, Pelham. So we had to drive. So
Mm. So tell me this: how did you end up at the Montessori school? What made your mom or your dad decide you need to be there?
Oh, um, well, I had this wonderful adopted grandmother who's a tutor. We,
Okay.
we call her Gigi, Gangster Granny. May she rest in peace. That's a long story. That's another show. But she really helped me in finding my path in learning.
Okay.
And so she recommended the Montessori school because she knew the background and it was beneficial for me. So
Okay.
that introduction was made through her.
Okay. Okay. So one of our lip, fans said Sarah's daughter went to one in Detroit that went to the Montessori school. And I know, I think Bruno's, did the Bruno start
The
the
Brunos on 119. I went to that one.
with the, okay, now going back to your Gigi,
Yes.
what did she identify that led her to say you didn't need to be in the public school system, but you needed to be in this school?
I Because she knew that in an environment that would cultivate your own individual way of learning, I
Mm-hmm.
would flourish.
Okay.
Sometimes just stamping out different things. Oh, people learn this way, and that's how they should learn.
Yeah.
That may be not be as conducive for that child. Maybe they need an individualized way or path that they can flourish on.
Understand. Well, let me ask you this with that. So, based on what you just said, do you think that that is why in the public school system there are so many kids that have been labeled as uh what's the correct word I need to use today to call to label to
You can
call?
I guess you can say been labeled. Um, I think with because let me back to answer this question. Okay, I'm also a consultant,
Okay.
an infant and early childhood mental health consultant.
Okay.
Um, and in that, it's about finding a way to connect with the child to see what's going on, and to if it's a way that we can cultivate a learning environment that's conducive to them, then we can do that. Um, the labeling may come when we don't understand the behavior, and when we don't understand the behavior as the professional, then we're ready for the labels. But when we take a step back and really tune into what does this child need, what does this
Yeah.
behavior mean, um, how can we collaborate with the families, how can we collaborate with services in school, outside of school. So in a way, through that title that I have as a consultant with state, I have learned that it's really about it boils down to learning about in that behavior. What is it telling me, and bridging those things that need to be done or need to be done in support, because at
Okay.
the end of the day it is about everyone's being hit, everyone's holding the child, and those people who are holding the child are there are other people who are holding them. And
Got you.
that piece right there can be very powerful if we just remember that these are human beings, that they're going to be adults, that just because we may have a label, we may not.
Mm-hmm.
The label does not define you. And I think in a way, not being so label happy. Does that
Got you.
make sense?
Yes.
So, um, but I mean, they're there for to understand the behavior, but let's understand the behavior as we are bridging these opportunities for support.
I often tell people that when it comes to our youth, for sure, no kid is one to just be a failure,
Mhm.
and no adult that's having a tough life that was their plan. That was not their plan. So we have to, as you said, be more sensitive to, okay, what caused this? It even helps me in dealing with people. You may be out and somebody serving you may have a bad attitude. when the past like, oh, they just need to go and get fired because they got to. But then I take a step back now and be like, wonder where's that coming from?
Mhm.
Because we don't know what
We
people are going through. And although we say, well, they're on their job, it used to be, I remember on jobs used to say, let the job stay on the job, let home stay at home. Well, that's the most insane thing because all of that stuff overlap. If work is bad, that's going to show up at home and vice versa. And we seem to think that people can all of a sudden just decide, okay, I'm going to be this way right here, and I'm going to be this way over here. And you can fake that for a moment, but then eventually that collides. And one of my concerns in school with the mental health is that, we have this, unfortunately, pipeline to prison,
mhm.
which is tied. And I think in Alabama, they passed a law that if a child can't read by the third grade or something, that they're going to hold them back.
Mm.
So I'm like, is that a plan? Does that even make sense? Why isn't the plan to make sure children are able to read versus if they can't read, we're just going to hold them back? How long are you going to hold them back? You know,
I Alabama, and I don't speak for Alabama, but I'm seeing from that other aspect of being a consultant, Alabama's making some positive changes, like my position in supporting the families and supporting teachers and collaborating with coaches and all those things that that are being put into place and taking consideration and
hmm
encouraging. It's been more talk about mental health, even for pre-K,
okay,
even for sometimes even parents may ask for mental health, and so there's been a lot of welcoming of that aspect and welcoming of ways to create another path rather than a pipeline.
pipeline. Well, that's great to hear. That's great to hear, because I mean, it's sad. I look at we're building the mega prisons now, right?
Hmm.
Why don't we funnel that money into earlier education to prevent children from becoming a part of the prison system? We had Devin Frazier on here, who's an educator,
Hmm.
and I think she's the instructional leader in the Bessemer City Schools now. And she has a reading program called I See Me Inc., and it's because of that pipeline in prison. And the statistic that she shared with us on the show was that if by the fourth grade a child cannot read and comprehend, they're more likely to end up in poverty and definitely be in prison or in the criminal justice system by a teenage years. And that's a sad indictment, just knowing that the inability not to read and comprehend at such a young age determines your. Now, Johnece, we got to talk about the family structure now. uh, because back in the day, we really had a village. I mean, if Miss So and so or Mr. So and so saw you doing something you weren't gonna do, you shouldn't be doing, they were gonna do it. And Oliver Johnson just posted that prison, and they do, Oliver. They are making money, but if we see what's leading to them being able to expand prisons, then it's up to us to come up with a solution. And when I say us, I'm speaking of the Black community. That is exactly what I mean. You all, no one is gonna save us. I'm just at this. No one's gonna save us. We are going to have to save ourselves. And with that being said, we talk about it, but we seldom want to volunteer. And I know if you worked in the juvenile system, Johnese, I mean, you probably saw where there are programs out there that needed volunteers and people unwilling to get up out their bed and make the sacrifice to be a big brother or big sister or mama or dad to these kids that didn't get to choose who birthed them into the world. So my thing is, you got to be a part of the solution. I mean, me and my husband, we raised and helped raise other kids that weren't ours, but we saw the potential. We didn't want this child to get lost. And going back to the mental health aspect with COVID and school was shut down, in your practice, have you seen the increase in mental health in younger children because of the isolation that they experience?
Yes, I have seen increase of the need. I have also talked to some people, other professionals like speech therapists and so
Hmm.
forth, and they've seen that some speech delays have occurred.
Wow.
You know, the mask. It's like what? And think about it.
Hmm.
When we're talking, you know, our little ones are really looking at even adults because we're like, what did you say?
Yeah.
So we're looking at what you're saying, but also what your nonverbal cues. That could be with your mouth, with your facial expression, etc. So definitely it has influenced our community a lot across the board. Across
Yeah.
the board.
Because the thing I thought about, we talk about the obvious effects of COVID,
Hmm.
but the fallout is going to be shocking for us. I think because long term is really going to manifest, especially in probably mental health diagnoses versus somebody not getting the help they need to help with their mental health wellness, and then it progresses on. Because I know a lot of times, even in college, when kids get to college, that's a lot of times when kids was end up getting diagnosed with a mental health diagnosis. So with that being said, with your experience, what's some things that you can give not just parents but us in general to help us, number one, maintain our own mental wellness,
Hmm.
and also recognize when somebody we know is not well and not coping well, and how to reach out to help them?
That is a huge question. So I'm going to break it down. Um, the sitting with yourself, checking in with yourself. How how are you feeling? How am I feeling this morning? What's what kind of thoughts am I having? Because thoughts do influence how we feel, and sometimes feelings influence how we think.
Hmm.
So tuning into those, they have a very wonderful thing called a wellness wheel. And you can find it
Mm.
on. You can Google it, put a PDF, and you get a free one. You don't have to
Okay.
pay for it. Okay, so it's free, 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 free.
What is it called? I'm gonna type that
Wellness
in.
wheel.
Wellness wheel.
Yes,
Okay.
a wellness wheel. And they have different areas of that aspects of our lives, like financial, mental, social,
Mm.
the long time, your romantic relationships, all
Wow.
those aspects that we experience on a daily basis. And with tuning into yourself, and that's a moment of reflection
Hmm.
and really chiseling out that time to do that, be it in the morning for 10 minutes through a
Gotcha.
meditation, or reading something, or listening to something that's motivational, just taking those moments that lead up to large moments for your well-being. And it's not about the doing, it's more about loving on yourself
Got you.
and caring for yourself. Because one thing that, I mean, COVID was, true enough, it was not a thing that we wanted to go through, but it did have some caveats to it. And that was for us to slow it down
True.
and really connect with self, connect with your loved ones, connect in a different way, not just surface.
True. You know what you made me think about? Because I remember when we shut down that March 6th, I never forget it. We had just celebrated my son's birthday that Wednesday. We're sitting in the restaurant laughing and talking, and that Friday, the world was shut down.
Hmm.
I remember that end of March and in April, sitting out on my front porch at night, just looking up at the stars, looking at nature, just, and in the daytime, I started back walking outside. which led to me when we could get back out, I joined a hiking group, which I still do to this day. And where I live is real easy for me to walk to Audrey's garden. And some mornings it's a mile there. I walk and I'm listening like to the birds chirp. And the simple things that we're so busy that we forget, to slow down. So my commitment, even coming out of COVID, was not to get back to super business. And I learned to say no a long time ago, but I'm even saying no more frequently. So
Exactly.
talk to the people about saying no and not feeling guilty.
Okay. Before we do that, let's do a test. Okay.
Okay.
Say the word no. No.
No.
Okay. It's easy, right? It's a period there. It's a full, complete sentence. So saying no is helping you really create those boundaries. And boundaries, they're hard, they say. But the thing about it is the boundaries are there so it can protect you as a protective factor
Mm-hmm.
and not deplete your cup. You want to give from your overflow, not your depleted cup. So by saying that no, it allows that overflow to flow over so you can give. But how can you give if you're depleted?
Tell me about it. And then other thing we don't too. We don't get rest.
Mm-mm.
People don't realize how rest affect our mental wellness. We're always on. We ain't on 10. We on 15. Even though the scale say 10, some of us on 20. And for me, I think for me, I'm not gonna say naturally a type A. My mom was a type A. My daddy was a type C, baby. He was chill. That's what I call him. And I can remember him saying, Mary, that's why you got high blood pressure, because you just always on edge. You can't relax. I mean, literally, it didn't matter what was going on. If it was something tragic, my dad's response was always, there's nothing we can do about it. All we can do is try to work around, deal with what has happened. My mom would be just like lit, just running all over the place. So after becoming a nurse and working in the ER, it made me think, wait a minute, these type A people having these strokes, these heart attacks, and unfortunately mental breaks. Many of them were having, and I definitely GI problems. I
Mm-hmm.
see a lot of people that are really anxious. They got GI problems, and I'm like, I see some young folks. They have had half of their colon taken out because they have irritable bowel syndrome, which to me is directly related, more than likely, to your mental wellness. So in a world where we celebrate, definitely in the United States, we celebrate grinding. We celebrate grinding.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you balance that with, especially in your career? Because this expectation is for you to move up the ladder. You got to be all in.
Mm-hmm.
At what point do people need to decide enough is enough to save them?
Before they decide is they start saying that statement.
Yeah.
Because when we get to the point of burnout, it's like it's just forget about it. Just like
Mm-hmm.
drop it. So that's when we cultivate those moments where we sit down with ourselves and say, hey, are we are we making sure that we are checking in with ourselves? How are we feeling? Do I need to say a no? Do I need to go ahead and set a boundary there? Do I need to express my feelings about something? um, do I need to communicate in this situation, relationship, taking a vacation?
Mm.
The grinding concept is still present, but I'm being more aware in society that we're realizing like no, because there's opportunities there that you don't have to like grind to as much. You have to work on things, but not grind to the point where it you put yourself in jeopardy,
True.
and you put more investment in that and then into yourself. So the grinding mentality is, I think, is letting off a little bit, and now we're moving towards opportunities where we can really cultivate almost like a automatic
Mm-hmm.
um, avenues of jobs and opportunities to go on vacations and to socialize and to really tune into what our hearts desire. And sometimes, guess what? It's great to color. I mean, just take a moment and color. If that's your thing, just take a moment to color, take a moment to draw, take a moment to go and put your feet on the ground and ground yourself. Take a moment to breathe, and I mean a deep breath. Take those moments. You're not a robot. You're not.
So it sounds like you're telling us to go back and find that little kid in ourselves.
Go, find the child. Find the child within.
Because you know, when you were a child, you could dream big, and all of a sudden you get older, and the world, well, unfortunately now the world is crushing kids, which is definitely a sad indictment, of where we are,
Mhm.
entirely. So I, for me, I think about even growing up in my little small hometown, and my parents didn't have a lot, but I didn't know we didn't have a lot till I came to college in Birmingham, because we had love. We always had food. We had somewhere to stay. But I remember this. I was like, my parents went to work. My mom, and they came home. We had time to visit with people, to laugh and talk. Now we're so socially isolated, and that's applauded now, because it's like people would say, I don't want to know my neighbors. I don't want my neighbors even coming by. And I'm like, have we gotten that isolated? Which to me has also increased our mental illness, and sometimes leading to diagnosis as well. So, how do we re engage and start just being friendly, liking people, saying hi to people, saying hi to your neighbor, get
S-
to know
Say, saying hi. Really saying, I mean, like really saying hi. Even like, um, there's one neighbor that we in our neighborhood who helps. Like the garbage can is on the corner, and sometimes I don't get it, so he gets it every morning. If I see him, he's saying hi to me. So saying hi is the first thing. It doesn't cost you anything other than probably a couple of breaths. That's it. Do you, I mean, hey, my name is such and such. If you need something, whatever, whatever. That's how we build that community part. And it really, you can start from family, checking on your family, and then, checking, seeing it about your neighbors.
True. Now it used to be you could drop by somebody's house. You can forget that now, because like anybody, you can drop by my house. I feel, this is me. If somebody drops by my house, whether they call or not call, I feel honored that you wanted to come see me. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? Now, yes, granted, I may call and say, "Are you gonna be at home or whatever?" But there are some people, like, if you show up in my house unannounced, I have, first of all, they're not coming to the door, and we know we got these ring cameras.
Hmm.
We're at a point now, if the number is not programming your cell phone, you're not going to answer it. I had to tell my children, what if something's happened to me and my phone was dead and I was actually calling you from somebody else's phone? I said, what does it hurt for you to say hello? And if it's a call you don't want to take, you just end the call. So it's just interesting with all of this, the way we have designed our lives now to be less friendly and less needing of each other. And then we wonder why the mental illness, because I think, like you said, COVID slowed us down, and it allowed some things to manifest that were already there. But
Hmm.
because we were busy and keeping on moving, as we said, pushing hard, that we didn't. So with that being said, have you seen your clientels go up as a result of COVID, that people realize, oh, I'm not okay? Or do you think it was just a result of them being isolated from COVID, or have people as a dual that they realize, oh, something was wrong with me way before COVID?
It's a mixture. It's a
Mixture.
mixture. Some of it's COVID. Some of it is historical things that has
Yeah.
happened. So we're not just dealing with what's current going on. We're also
Yeah.
dealing with historical things that has transpired as well. And so it's a mixture. It
It's a
really is.
mixture
Hmm.
with everything. So are you seeing, as far as in the Black community, we're more embracing of therapy and counseling now?
Yes, more embracing, more open, more willing to share, more willing to communicate, more willing to really get very vulnerable in the sessions,
Great.
and have that have that space where you can be vulnerable and not feel so judged.
Judge. I know for me, I think I'm so happy to see more Black therapists and counselors now, because it does make a difference when you can talk to someone that's more than likely to be able to relate to you. Now, all can't. And I always tell people, if you go to one therapist, it doesn't work, don't stop. Find someone else. I know for me, after George Floyd was murdered, that was very triggering for me. That was very triggering for me. And so much triggering that I isolated myself at home for 2 weeks. Was like, and I can be honest, I was like, if I see a white person now, I just think it's gonna take me down a dark, dark path. I don't know how that would come. And I actually utilize our employee assistance program to talk to someone. And interestingly, I ended up with a white female counselor, and they asked me who I wanted. And I was like, oh, I don't want to talk to nobody white. But then it was like, and I said, the Holy Spirit said, yeah, you need to talk to somebody not like you about this particular instance, because it had polarized us. So, and then at the end of the day, I think at the end, she actually told me, she said, you know what? You actually ended up being therapy for me. And I'm quite sure in your therapy sessions, we don't think about that. When you talk to some of your clients, it's probably becomes therapy for you as well. So
It
talk about that when the session becomes therapy for the counselor.
Well, remember the therapist always has a therapist. Remember
Uh-huh.
that. Okay. So as I support clients and support the community, somebody supporting me. All right. So
Y'all, that's good to hear. Your therapist got a therapist. So that might
therapist
be
got a
one of your
therapist.
first questions to ask.
I might turn that in a t-shirt. Who knows? Whatever. I'm always thinking about stuff like that. But anyway, so with that, there has been moments where I have said something and it was for the person, but also me.
Yeah.
And that happens because not therapy, I put it like this. Therapy in my book is like me in the car with someone, but the person's driving the car. I'm in the passenger seat. Now, if it's a couples, then I'm in the back seat chilling.
Okay.
Okay. Um, so they're driving, and so my duties and my honorable duties, I'll put it that way, is to really support and say, hey, we're gonna have to stop at this and look at this mountain because we keep on going around in circles and keep on looking at this mountain. So that's the opportunity for us to really talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about me leading, but it's about them leading and me helping and supporting them on their journey, on their path as they pivot and change paths or mend the path that they're on at the
Great.
end
So
of the day.
which led to your creating your path. And you
Yes.
all, that's major. Whether you're seeking mental health counseling or you medical care, you should seek a caregiver or a therapist that is partnering with you
Hmm.
in your care. Because I always tell people, just because you go to the doctor, you don't have to accept the treatment that they're going to give you if you have an issue with it. And I'm not saying now if something's wrong with you, the doctor like this is our option. They're giving you several options. You might need to see a therapist to see why you can't accept any of those options that's being offered. But it's okay to say, do you have something less invasive, or I don't want to do that right now. I'm gonna use newly diagnosed diabetes for instance. You can say, you know what, I don't want to start taking pills right now, but I'm willing to see a dietitian, start exercising. Let me see if I can get this under control myself. And many times, starting out early, you can get it under control. So you want someone that's going to be sensitive to what you're saying. And let me read some of these comments right here, Johnece. One of my fans said, I'm gonna put this up here. And she does. I think she should put love in capital letters. She definitely loves to embroider, and it relaxes and takes stress away. And one of the things she did, which I know it helped her even during the pandemic, was, Eleanor, how many masks you made? I mean, she started making masks,
Mhm.
and she made them unique. She had them for healthcare givers. She made some for little children with pretty little, colorful cartoons and everything on them. And part of that for her was, let me make some unique for the person that's going to be wearing it. And that made some people feel good. Oh, I got a specialized designer mask. And I mean, she made plenty of them. And then also someone said that one thing we need to do to get in balance is to truly evaluate, prioritize, and cultivate balance. Because all of us have been out of balance at any time, and it takes one event can send you, out of balance. And as we saw, even during the pandemic, we didn't just have one thing happening; we had social injustice going on.
Mhm.
We had probably what I'm going to say the most volatile, volcanic election cycle in the history of the United States in my lifetime. Let me say, in my lifetime. And it really polarized us greatly,
Mhm.
with everything. And I think even with that, for me, you question a lot of things. You question a lot of things that you thought were behind or better, that came to the forefront, was like, we may be further back than we were in the 1960s with what's going on now. So that is something to do. And one of my friends, she's just said that find the right therapist for you. They are out there. When you find the right one, it will change your life and generations. And we know we had the what happens in the house, stay in the house mentality. We know we had all kind of uh, sexual abuse, physical abuse, all kind of generational traumas, and even from slavery. I thought about this. Me and my sister was talking. I was like, wonder, what about the Middle Passages trauma? That's what I think about when they got here. Even though they had to adapt, that got passed down somewhere to us, and it's generational. We see the generational things. Uh, I know, like I was saying, with my mom, with being high strung, and she was real fussy. And that was something I started noticing myself. I was like, oh my God, I got to deal with this. And it wasn't that she wanted to be, but that's all she knew. And that was her stress, her way to deal with stress.
Mhm.
So
That
just learning, how to unlearn things. And I tell people, you don't blame your parents and your grandparents. They did the best they could, with what they knew. I know with my mom, she had some grieving she needed to do, and just getting her to admit that something had really hurt her, and it was because she was dark skinned. And finally, me talking to her, I said, "Mama, it's okay to grieve it." And for the first time, she really cried about being mistreated for being the darker skinned daughter in her family. That hurt. So that's what led to her to put up that tough wall.
mm,
But before she left this world at 87, she had a chance at least to cry about that thing, and get some semblance of healing just, through that. But of course, she didn't get therapy because she was strong, she was a
mhm.
strong one. But that happens.
I think when you say strong, it's in society. It's like you gotta be strong. You gotta be strong.
Yeah,
Ooh, you gotta be strong. You can't be vulnerable. You can't, in cult, in the Black community, in different types of community, it's this facade of being strong that keeps us really hurting in silence.
true.
And on top of that, the generational things that come through our families. that continues knowingly and unknowingly.
Yeah,
Um,
true.
and just understanding that if we have three generations, that the first generation does have influence on the second one and the third one. So
Yeah.
all of those generations, even in utero, are being passed down. Now, true enough, we do have choices in this matters.
Yeah.
It's not, oh, this has been passed down to me, so we have to do that. But it is a opportunity to unpack those things, so we're not passing it down and we're not continuing to live in the loophole of trauma.
Tell me about it. It's cycles.
Hmm.
One of my favorite songs was Jonathan McReynolds. He keep me going in cycles.
Hmm.
Keep me
Hmm.
going in cycles. And that's what keeps you stuck and not able to live free. You can either pass blessings on down to the generations, or you can keep on passing those curses down. And someone here, Alicia Bond, said this has been so helpful in leading her to reflect upon both her professional and personal path. And Oliver Johnson, I don't know who you are, but I need to get you on the show because I want to talk to you as a black male about opening up to counseling. You might can help some folks. Do you know him, Johnece?
I do.
Okay, so Oliver, you coming next. I just want you to know. I'm gonna get your information. And the reason I want that, because if even some young males see him talking about it and what he's doing to work through it, they'll feel like, okay, okay.
Hmm.
And we've got to. I think about here in Birmingham, Lord Jesus, this shooting and stuff is lit, and people like, oh, they just thugs, they just lit. Y'all, those young men and women do not want to be being murdered and killed, but for whatever is internally traumatizing them, it's coming out in violence. But I bet if you go have had a conversation with some of them, they would tell you what their actual dreams and aspirations. And I think one of the things is we don't have enough to do. I know growing up, we had summer programs, we had things that was going on that kept kids occupied, and that's definitely true. The idle mind is the
It,
devil's workshop. You go,
it
you gonna
it
get in trouble.
it kept kids occupied and connected. I know when I was at working in the library, um, when I was in high school, I was on the teen
Was that the
board.
teen summer thing they used to have years
Hmm.
ago?
Reading program. They still have reading programs, and it's free, people. It's free.
Free.
All right. Just those aspects of going to the library. What does my kid want? What am I interested in? Am I interested in museums? Some of them are free. Am I interested in other things? I know the art museum used to have a program as well. You know,
Hmm.
a whole like camp camp thing. So all those things that you can explore, but if we don't sit down with our young ones, our young adults, and really connect, then reflect, then we get lost in the sauce to certain degrees.
Yeah. Well, I tell you one thing I'm glad to see that I know at my churches, I've seen other pastors do it. My pastors actually started addressing mental wellness
Hmm.
and promoting counseling. Everything, Jesus and therapy, they coincide. And I often tell people, we take the Bible literally. We think like everything we read with y'all was not their everyday life. We don't have y'all do know that Jesus wore diapers and had to get changed. Okay, he was born a baby, but I always tell them part of Jesus' therapy was going to Martha and Mary and Lazarus' house to relax. Part of his therapy was getting away by himself just to quiet the mind. I know for me, sometimes when I'm at home and my husband's out here, I can literally go an entire weekend and not turn on my TV. Y'all try it. You'll be amazing at the sounds that your house make and the sounds that you will hear around your environment. I challenge some of you to turn your radio off in your car. then you'll discover that you probably having some engine problems that you didn't even know what's going on because it's drowned out. People don't even know what their normal environment
Mm-hmm.
sounds like. Uh, Quiet your mind. I know we had a psychiatrist on here. He said one of the things to do, and I got to get back to this because I broke this habit. He said at least 30 to 60 minutes before you go to bed, turn off the TV, turn your phone off, and just be still. So that when you go to bed, when you actually go to sleep, that your mind will be clear. And for my mental wellness, I do not watch the news at night. Period. 6 o'clock, 10 o'clock, or whatever. Because many years ago, I discovered that when I listened to all that violence and stuff at night, I did not rest as well
Mm-hmm.
at night. And a lot of people don't think about, those simple things, taking some deep breaths and exhale. And then always have you a good friend that's gonna be real with you. Okay. Sometimes folks just need to say, you might need to talk to somebody. You've been a little short lately.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know, and you may get mad, but you appreciate it um in the long run.
You,
So
you,
now,
mhm.
Johnece, a lot of folks don't like exercise. Let's talk about how exercise deal with mental wellness.
Exercise. Okay, so not to get too scientific, but energy cannot be destroyed. So therefore, if we're bombarded with a lot of stressors and a lot of things going on, exercise is a good way of relieving that stress in the body. A great book that I recommend to a lot of people is The Body Keeps Score.
Mm,
To find it on Amazon. It's a good book on how, even though we go through different traumas and we're thinking like we're I won't say over it, but we think that we've managed it. That even that in itself, the body remembers. So exercise is an opportunity for you to change. I'll say change, not transmute, but change that energy into something positive. Okay, so that instead of it's depleting you, it's giving you opportunity to replenish. What happens with exercise? Okay, you start getting those feel good endorphins. You start feeling good, and next thing you know, you're feeling good. You want to spice up your outfit or whatever it may be.
mm-hmm.
Um, it helps in that aspect because if we're not moving, that energy, that those things are stagnant. You're
Right.
stressing. You're stressed up here. Stress comes right here sometimes.
Yeah,
And
I
then
carry mine in my shoulders, but I've noticed, because I go to the chiropractor
Mhm.
too. That's been good for me. That since I've been, really consistent with my exercise and even eating more wholesome foods, not the high fat fast food things, I feel better. I know the other morning, well, actually this morning, I was like, I don't want to exercise, but I put on my clothes. And I have a spin bike too, and I have my husband has a recumbent bike. This morning I wasn't feeling spin bike-ish, but I said I'm gonna get on this recumbent bike. And before I realized it, my 30 minutes had gone by, and I had actually done my morning meditation, my little devotional
Mhm.
as well. So I would tell people walking is free, really, FREE, minus a good pair of shoes. Make sure you get a good pair of shoes if you're gonna walk. And if you have any leg issues, I recommend compression socks. They got cute, all decorated ones on Amazon now for males and females, right? So I recommend that you just go for a walk. Sometimes I walk and I don't listen to any music or anything. I just look at nature and just look at the awesomeness of what God has created in this world. There's sometimes I listen to my music. But for those of you that may not like exercise, you probably need to have you some music, some good music going. And I promise you, before you realize it, you're gone through 4 or 5 playlists. 30 minutes, you all. 30 minutes is all you need to give to it. None of this 45 minutes, hour, 2 hours.
Mm-mm.
That's insane. That'll make you depressed. Knowing that you got to work out.
That's true. I had a great friend associate who encouraged me to take spin classes, and I'm like, what? And so
Oh,
the
love it.
the first day I was like, "Oh, buddy." And so the second time I did it, I was like, "Okay." They had the music going and pumping and going up, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Okay." And I did it a couple of times, and it was just like, "Okay." And I felt better. I was like, feeling and looking better. And I just it's something about make sure your body is moving. We are really meant to move.
For
That doesn't
sure.
that doesn't mean you have to do like she said, like for 2 hours. You don't have to do all of that. 30 minutes, 45 minutes, even taking a 10-minute walk at your break.
Power walk. Yeah, just
Power
get
walk.
out and just go out and
Hmm.
just get push back from your work area. You need to, and I always tell people, don't eat lunch at your desk. You
Go
know,
in nature.
free
Yeah.
your mind. And
Hmm.
look, you all, I'm finna put in here. If you go on your app and look up Sunny Fitness, they're like Peloton, but theirs free. I started using that. They have spin cycle, yoga, everything on there. And they even have meditation. We didn't talk about that. There are many meditation apps. Y'all get a free one. Don't go out there and pay for one. There's too many free ones.
Hmm.
Don't pay for one.
How that would yes, it's a lot of them.
Yeah.
It's
This is how I search for stuff. Free, da 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 da. Put the word free in front of it. Okay. Now I'm actually a certified spin cycle instructor, Johnece.
ooh,
And so of course I hadn't taught since the pandemic, and I'm trying to decide. My problem is now I used to not like to work out at home, but now I love it. Now my issue is I don't want to get up and go to a gym anymore. But I'm thinking about just starting back to teach a class, to have the class. But I found a lady on YouTube who's a
mhm,
spin instructor. Initially, I just started using her free ones on YouTube. So I was like, well, this will help me get back in condition to really teach. Y'all, her paid plan is $2.19 a month. Okay. Now, people like, oh, she making no money. Oh, yeah, she making some money because I'm guaranteeing you. This lady got a lot of people that have is paying that $2.19
mhm,
a month. See, that's where we get in trouble sometimes. Capitalism tell you to charge $20.99 for it because people pay for it. But this, she said, she decided to charge this because she wanted people to have access to it and not feel a financial burden. Well, she got a loyal customers, right? That's paying that $2.19. She's sitting in her living room or her room in her house teaching these class with her two dogs that'll sleep all the time. So there are avenues. If you cannot do chair exercise,
mhm. Chair exercise. Oh, I did that in the hospital. That was pretty cool. The
that
patients loved it.
but it's a
Um,
workout, ain't it,
it
Johnese?
is a workout. Chair yoga. I mean, just different things that you can find on YouTube. You can find for the free.
Yeah,
It doesn't think of it like this. We'll invest in a house, we'll invest in a car, we invest in the stock market. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not good.
bad. Yeah.
So why not invest in yourself and make it a good investment? And it doesn't mean cost money, but really it costs you your time to get triple of what you're investing in.
Well, I tell people this: you need to make time for health
Hmm.
because you don't get to choose to make time for sickness when it snatches you. And I
Hmm.
know people used to say, "Man, you pay to take when I was taking boot camp back in the day and those type things." I said, "Y'all, I'm either gonna pay for this or I'm gonna pay for insulin. I'm gonna pay for this type of surgery or this type of thing." So I rather invest in me staying well and more healthy. And definitely, I honestly believe if we would give priority to mental health wellness, many of the diseases that we have manifest would not. But unfortunately, we know here in America, sickness makes money. Keeping people well does not. So you've got to take care of yourself. And with your mental health wellness, learn to rest, learn to say no.
Hmm.
And if you feel you're not coping with something well, you need to talk to someone. That's just it, period. You need to seek therapy. And I know some people don't have money for a therapist, but believe me, There are therapists out here that do it on a sliding fee scale. And your ways of you have many ways you're counseling. So share with them how they can access you, Johnece.
Creating Your Path. It has my information. That's my website. It's with a K for a
Okay.
reason, to be different.
I
But
like that.
um, but you can reach me at that website. You can also reach me at 205-427-4921. Um, the email creating your path at gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm on IG as well. Look for Creating
Okay.
Your Path as well on there. Um, and just reach out. And there are sliding scale fees. There are vouchers that great programs are offering to pay for or pay partially for
Mm-hmm.
sessions for you. Try your EAP because they give you sessions,
Tell me about it. And I'm getting all of mine.
all of them. They're there for you.
And to
Um,
utilize them. Y'all, everybody needs to talk to somebody sometime. And sometimes your girlfriend or your guy friend can't give you what you need, or your mother, or your father, or whatever. And with our children, we definitely need to help them start coping early and
mhm,
learning ways to deal with their mental health. Because y'all, this world is definitely different than the one we grew up in, because they're all technologically connected rather than having conversations. That's not good for your mental wellness. So look, honey, it's 8:06. It's been so good. We went overtime. But see, like, so with that being said, I thank you so much. This has been so good for us.
mhm.
Uh, so in closing, what kind of word you want to give to the people that they can remember a key thing of what you said tonight?
Mm. Love.
I like that. Love. Because if you lead with love, everything you do after that is going to be for the benefit and not to the detriment.
Mhm.
I love that. I love that. Well, look, we thank y'all for joining us tonight at Conversation is Art. And Johnece, I don't know if your mom is watching or not, but you got to show this to her.
I will.
Definitely show this to her. Um, I am, like I said, I am so proud of you, and just so great to see you do such an awesome work. It just does my heart good to see you doing so well, and defying the odds and helping us become better and taking care of ourselves. And you all know what? Like, everybody typed in no when you said no.
No.
They did type in no. And you don't have to explain. No, period.
Mm. There we go.
So you all have a good night, and we'll see you all next week. We're gonna have a mystery guest next week, or it may be Oliver. Make sure you get him his information. He don't think I'm coming for him. Oh, Oliver, I'm coming for you. Y'all take care. Johnece, you stay on till we